morning, everyone. Welcome to the Auditing Insanity Newscast. I'm your host, Jim Vinge, and we'll be looking at 5 articles today on Benson, Floyd Wallace, Karen Reed, and, of course, Jose Chile DeCastro. We have an announcement on our Flashback series at the end of the broadcast and a few changes to the program that we've been working on for some time. We've got another busy evening as we're in the process of writing 3 new stories for tomorrow, and we'll also be taking part in the return of the All-Star Tuesday on a Tuesday panel tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. With that, let's dive into the news. GoFundMe, DeCastro humiliated by LIA. The string of losses keep piling up for Jose Chile DeCastro. Once describing himself as the best fundraiser in the world, he's now gone 4 days without a donation to his crowdsourcing campaigns and lost Monday to Sean Paul Long Island Audit's Riaz. Riaz's Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign pulled in $50 to take the win on Monday, followed closely by her own ongoing expenses fund with a $35 take. Our second place showing, and any showing at all, effectively crushing our dreams of multiple days of goose eggs, as we're both pleasantly surprised by donations and soul-crushingly depressed about having to continue to write this very column. But at least we're not Chile DeCastro. DeCastro's Legal Defense Fund crime scene tape illegal arrest campaign hasn't had a donation in 2 months and stands at $2,315 out of its $30,000 goal and an 8% completion rate. This was the campaign that was supposed to be funding his high-powered lawyer for his upcoming trial in Las Vegas for obstructing an officer. No, not that one, the other one. This is the one where he was out and alone on the streets of Vegas in February of this year and decided to walk under some crime scene tape and confront police officers who were investigating a fatal traffic accident. That's his worst campaign, but they're all bad in their own ways. His lawyer fund only, all dollars go to lawyers campaign, sits at $20,922 out of a $25,000 goal and 85% completion rate. It hasn't had a donation in the past 8 days. This fund was originally set to raise money to fulfill his promise to Garrett Press with Ranker Van Nett to pay his legal bills. DeCastro has no choice about that promise as he stupidly signed a contract to cover the expenses. But this campaign later evolved into every dime going to DeCastro's own legal defenses. DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund Donation Fund Help People Fund, again, which had the original purpose to help others with legal needs before being converted into a straight put money into my own pocket fundraiser, is stuck at $27,015 out of a $35,000 goal and hasn't seen a donation in 4 days. Rounding things out, his newest fund, Justice for All Legal Battle for Accountability, hasn't had a donation in 4 days and is stuck at $4,508 out of a $100,000 goal. DeCastro launched this campaign when he was released from jail and promised that every person who donated would be invited to a party and have a hotel room purchased for them with the money he would get from the 7-figure payout from the lawsuit he was filing against Nevada once he reached the $100,000 goal. Well, it looks like the 56 people who donated won't get their chance to party with DeCastro anytime soon. The fund is concerning because it started so strongly and immediately fizzled as DeCastro squandered all the goodwill he had in his return and is not connecting with his donors. DeCastro recently claimed that he put out roughly $70,000 in legal fees this year, with $17,000 coming out of his own pocket. The remaining $53,000 came from his donors, either through crowdsourcing or direct donations. He's made $54,760 from his GoFundMe campaigns, more than likely $52,000 after GoFundMe takes its cut, which was roughly the money he needed to cover his legal bills. But that was for his existing legal bills. He still has to pay his attorney in Maryland to fight the upcoming Collin Project Constitution Campbell harassment case. He still must pay another $10,000 to his lawyer in his ongoing Las Vegas city obstruction case. He still is paying Michael Mee for his ongoing federal civil rights lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We're not even getting to the $100,000 he claims he needs before hiring the best civil rights lawyer for his wrongful arrest, wrongful conviction case against the state of Nevada. Any cases against the corrupt Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman. Plus, he still owes $30,000 to Press with Ranker's attorney for a contract he signed earlier in the year. DeCastro hasn't live-streamed in 2 days. He's made a handful of trifold and 5A cop card sales in the time he's been on the air since getting out of jail, matching the sales with special donations and giveaways. We'd estimate he made $500 to $1,000 in actual on-air sales since returning. We know Social Blade projects his YouTube monthly earnings to be between $3,600 and $57,600 a month, so maybe we're wrong and he's rolling in cash because he just got paid by YouTube. But something else tells us that with the suspicious views and short views, those earnings are on the low side. He wouldn't need to crowdsource for $100,000 to buy a lawyer if he was making $57,600 a month. Food for thought as we go into another day. Wallace announces return to Colombia. In the never-ending will he stay or will he go story of Floyd Wallace, the YouTuber announced on Monday that he was attempting to leave immediately for Colombia once he raised the money for the trip and retrieved a new Social Security card from Nebraska. The YouTuber's Monday early stream was devoted to fundraising for the trip, claiming he only needed $192 of the $240 round-trip tickets would cost if he were to purchase the tickets right away. He warned of the urgency as funding his trip would cost his fans a low price now, but would become much harder for his fans to pay for closer to his departure date. Wallace said that he would pick up girls and get himself some women to feature on camera for his viewers if only they donated. He said that women are much easier to bed in Colombia, and he wanted to stay for 2 months this time, saving a month on his visa for a return trip later this year. Addressing his ongoing criminal case, with jury selection for his trial in Oklahoma set for August 14, 2024 for charges of obstructing an officer, Wallace implied that he could simply have his lawyer delay the trial for 2 months at a whim, and the charges were nothing to worry about. Despite saying he was going to leave immediately, Wallace announced that he needed to travel to Nebraska before leaving in order to get a new Social Security card. His previous Social Security card and driver's license were lost or stolen as he re-entered the United States earlier in the year. While Wallace can simply fill out an online form and go to any Social Security office to retrieve a new card, he seemed to be insistent on traveling to Omaha, Nebraska before leaving for his extended vacation in Colombia. When asked about the woman known as the Stud, who served as Wallace's personal Uber maid, sex partner, and cook during his last visit, he laughed at the thought of reuniting with her as their last encounter went sour. Wallace promised that he's purchased a chest harness for his phone and will be able to secretly film his conquest in Colombia if his fans fulfilled his fundraising demands. The YouTuber ended his stream early as no one had donated in the hour of live broadcasting. Wallace has since set the stream to private status. Benson and DMA protest lack of free Wi-Fi. Regan Benson and Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova stormed their way through the streets of Denver, spreading peace, love, and unhappiness on Monday after being denied the use of free Wi-Fi at a mayoral event in the Paramount Hotel. Mayor Mike Johnston was having a State of the City event on Monday at the private business, but offering it as a public forum. According to Benson, all of the members of the mainstream media agreed that there would be no big cameras to cover the event, but reporters could live stream using their phones if they wanted to. Benson and Cordova, as part of the citizen press, did not agree to or know about the terms when going through security or entering the building. They had a brief confrontation with organizers over Cordova's large staff-like camera apparatus. While the pair initially agreed that Cordova would not film using his camera staff, the pair stormed out of the facility when they were not able to obtain either the hotel's private Wi-Fi reserved for guests or the government-run Wi-Fi provided to members of Johnston's staff in order to live stream. Benson immediately took her rage out on members of the Denver police force, including one officer who was sitting in his patrol jeep calmly eating his lunch. Benson asked if the man was on the clock and being paid, and when he answered the affirmative, she demanded he put his lunch down and interact with her as she was a taxpayer, and he would stop what he was doing to answer her questions. When the man continued to eat while answering her questions, Benson attacked him verbally, telling him to screw himself before storming off. She later explained to Cordova that the man was going out of his way to taunt her and was answering questions with his mouth open in a deliberate attempt to taunt her. She said she hoped the officer would soon be fired for being part of the old guard, who are apparently on their way out after the recent lawsuit that was settled in her favor with the city of Denver. Benson continued confronting police officers throughout the 2.5-hour live stream and sharing her thoughts on policing in Denver. She asserted that the recently announced juvenile golfing program put on by the Denver Police Department was an indoctrination campaign to turn children into future police officers and that it was an incredible waste of money. After the governor's event finished, Benson approached the women running the gift bag booth about the fate of leftover gift bags. When she was informed that the leftover gift bags would be distributed to children at schools in the Denver area, she became angry and stated that the kids got everything and wondered aloud why the homeless were always forgotten. Cordova served as Benson's sidekick and yes-man during the event, offering little original thought and seemed incapable of independent action without Benson's approval. While his strange aggression patterns were on full display at the event, he continues to seek approval from Benson before taking any action when the pair are together. The livestream drew an observed 62 viewers out of her 22,000 subscribers at peak viewership. LVMPD responds to DeCastro over motion to dismiss. Jose Chile DeCastro was conspicuous by his absence from live streaming for the second day in a row, as he failed to appear on YouTube nor address Monday's filing by the defense in his civil case against the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. Extending DeCastro's very bad weekend into Monday, the filing by the Las Vegas Metro Police Department's reply to DeCastro's reply to their motion to dismiss essentially humiliated the First Amendment auditor, as it showed that he put little to no effort into his reply to have the case continued. Addressing the elephant in the room, DeCastro's recent state-level acquittal on the appeal of the charges involved in the case, Craig R. Anderson, representing the LVMPD, asserted that the ruling did not matter as the judge in the federal case already ruled that police had probable cause to arrest DeCastro for obstruction in the case. Directly addressing DeCastro's accusation that he backed up after being commanded to do so, Anderson referred to the body cam footage that clearly showed that DeCastro ignored multiple commands to back up by the arresting officer and only backed up after the officer announced that DeCastro was being detained. Addressing DeCastro's claims that he aggravated a shoulder injury in the arrest, as 2 sets of handcuffs used on him to extend his range of motion were not enough to prevent further injury, Anderson pointed out that DeCastro had the opportunity to provide medical experts or medical records to show that an injury indeed occurred, and he declined to do so. Likewise, DeCastro had the opportunity to show that he suffered damage from a blow to the groin or that Officer Jesse Sandoval used significant force on DeCastro's arm, but declined to even attempt to give proof that either injury ever happened. DeCastro's claims that he was defamed by the officers who he claimed made false statements in the reports and that he was lied to about the reasoning for his arrest were also in question, as neither had anything to do with the actual motion to dismiss the case. Anderson closed the reply by requesting the ability to reply if DeCastro was allowed by the judge in the case to update his reply to the motion based on his recent state-level acquittal of the charges made in the case. DeCastro is suing the LVMPD for $5 million. He is represented by attorney Michael Mee in the federal civil rights lawsuit. Reed hearing becomes a circus again. The hearing for Karen Reed's murder trial on Monday lasted a little over 5 minutes as it streamed on various platforms, with Karen Reed's new trial set for January 27, 2025, and a motions hearing set for August 9, 2024, to go over defense motions to attempt to have 2 of her 3 charges dropped. New Reed attorney Martin Weinberg joined David Dianetti at the brief hearing. The men are set to argue at the August hearing that since they heard from friends of jurors that the jury would have found Reed innocent of 2 of the 3 charges but did not enter that as a verdict, retrying Reed for those charges would amount to double jeopardy. Jurors supposedly were to vote 12-0 in favor of acquittal on charges of second-degree murder and leaving the scene after knowingly causing injury to then-boyfriend John O'Keefe. Reed has since been rumored to be in a relationship with defense attorney Alan Jackson, a member of her legal team. The prosecution countered that the jury was given the opportunity to enter the verdict before a mistrial was declared and declined to do so. Since the trial was over, as the jury said they were hopelessly deadlocked and could not produce a verdict, it is not double jeopardy to try Reed on the same charges, as no verdict was ever entered. Judge Beverly Cannoni warned both sides that she would hear the motions at the next hearing and to prepare for an immediate appeal from either side depending on how she ruled on the matter. Outside of the venue, members of the Free Karen Reed movement dressed in pink confronted members of the Justice for John O'Keefe movement who were dressed in blue. The color-coordinated protesters appeared ready to battle like 2 groups of henchmen in the old Batman television series, with Turtleboy Aidan Kearney urging action from the pink protesters on a bullhorn. Kearney himself became angered when he spotted nemesis Kate Peter across the street from him and deliberately attempted to approach her multiple times, despite living in fear of her and having a protection order against her. The diminutive blogger protested when a police officer standing next to Peter told him that Peter did nothing wrong, as she was standing and not engaging with Kearney, despite Kearney moving within the confines of the 30-foot distance outlined in the protective order. Enraged, Kearney went to the local police department to file a complaint about Peter violating his protection order and complained loudly on Twitter that he was in a similar situation with ex-girlfriend Lindsay Gaiatini earlier in the year and faced charges of violating the protection order Gaiatini has against him. Kearney spent most of the night on Twitter attacking Peter in a display of his abject terror at the thought of Peter walking free of the obvious abuse of the protection order. Both Kearney and Peter have hearings for alleged existing violations of various protection orders in August. We will cover them as they happen. Well, that was something. If you didn't notice, we're skipping the flashback article as we're actually getting rid of the segment in its current form and evolving into a brand new segment called This Day in History. This segment will swap reading entire old news stories for a summary of all the things that happened on this day a year ago or 2 years in the past. Believe it or not, come November it'll be 2 years of doing the newspaper every day. It will also hopefully stop the confused comments we get that say, "But I thought this happened a long time ago." The segment will be optional and sometimes will consist of pretty much rereading a single old article with new updates if there aren't enough stories to support a summary. All in all, we think it's a good move and we'll see how it plays out as a continuing column. With that, we're out of here for another day. Take care and remember, the life you save may sue you for neglect, alienation, and having bad taste in anime. So let 'em die, folks. Let 'em die.